Hey, what's going on, man? Coach Tyler here with Black Diamond Softball and Fitness. Got a brand new episode of the Foul Pole to Foul Pole podcast for you. On this episode, had a chance to sit down with Coach Scottie Kilgore, the associate head coach from the University of Tennessee Chattanooga. Check it out. Hey, Coach, I appreciate you joining me today.
Hey, I appreciate you having.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I know it's a busy time of year for you. It's a busy time for really a bunch of us, but I know you're gearing up for the season. When do you guys play your first game?
First game, I think, is February the 9th. We're traveling to ULL first tournament, so that's going to be a big one.
Yeah. Are you think are you thinking you girls are going to be prepared for this, or is it something that we're going to have to continue to prepare through the season so we peak at the right time?
Yeah, I think it's something, you always want to compete against those bigger schools and have a good show. And I think it's us, ULL, Cal is out there, and then New Mexico State. So those are some pretty big schools for a mid-major school to get to play. It's, a blessing to have that opportunity. We'll go out there and, hope we can compete and build off that going into our, conference play and stuff.
Absolutely. Um, Take me through sort of early spring workouts and warm ups and stuff, kind of like your schedule, so the people that are listening kind of understand what it's like to play at a mid major and sort of the demands that happen with these young athletes.
Yeah, I mean, we started again last Monday was our first Monday back. We hit the ground running at 6 a.m. in the morning. So we went to weights, and then girls went to class from 8 o'clock till 12:30, 1 o'clock, whatever there was, and then we had a 2.5 hour practice starting at 2:30. So I mean that's basically our day, and once that's over with, you know that was our first week. So we'll step into a little more this week, get a little more in detail, start looking at scouting reports for the teams we're playing
Mhm.
at that first tournament.
Good deal. How much does strength and conditioning go into the beginning part of the season when you're trying to get everybody up to speed and on the same sheet of music?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, I think that's where it starts, is in the weight room. I think we have a great coach there, and he prepares our girls to be their best when we hit the field. So, I mean, I think that's where it starts.
Yeah,
And you can get the respect in the weight room. They just bring it to the field with them later that day.
yeah.
So,
You've been coaching for Coach Reed for quite a few years.
yeah,
So, tell me his impact that he's had at Chattanooga.
Coach Reed has been phenomenal. I mean, if you look at his accolades over the years, this will be his 23rd year, I think, at UTC, and he's won 13 conference championships. And I mean, he's got a cool demeanor. He don't get too high, too low. He's very, to the point, get your job done. And he's a very positive guy. A lot
Mhm.
of people look at him or scared to approach him or whatever, but he's not unapproachable. He just, he's got a vision of how he wants things done, and it's worked for him, and he's going to continue to do that.
Yeah. Man, earlier you were talking about mid-major, and
Yeah,
recently, well, I guess not so much, but recently we've seen this rise in these mid-majors able to compete at the very highest level with some of these Power Five schools. Why do you think that is?
Whew. Well, I think a lot of it is, I think kids in general, athletes uh, they have a dream and has aspiration of playing at the Power Five level,
Mhm.
which is phenomenal, and I think, but obviously every one of those kids can't compete at that level. And the transfer portal has allowed those kids to go back and play at mid majors, and you still get great coaching at that mid major level,
Mhm.
and it's the culture you build. I mean, you can look at Charlotte, you can look at ULL, you can look at Troy, you can look at those programs like that who are mid major schools to me.
Mhm.
And I mean, they're able to compete when they play those guys. A couple of years ago, we went down to Alabama. We was playing Alabama in a regional, and it was 1-0. And I mean, that's competing. That's all we can ask for at our level. So,
These girls that make it to that college level, whether it's NAIA, JUCO, Division three, it doesn't matter. Do you see it where it's almost like they're starstruck for a little bit? You see some of these athletes like, okay, hey, I've made it, and it's like, oh, now I've got to compete.
yeah, I mean, I think to be honest with you, I see a lot of athletes like that. Like I said, I've coached at every level. I've coached at the high school level. I've coached at the summer level. Fortunate to be able to coach at the college level, but I see a lot of athletes once they commit to a school or once they sign, it's like a reprieve. It's like, whew, okay, I had this pressure, and then they kind of, I'm not going to say they kind of slack off a little, you
Mhm.
know, and kids have an aspiration of going in and being a freshman and start right away. They're on summer teams where they're one of the best nine. And it's not always that way. It's not always that simple.
Yeah.
We just had a camp this past weekend, and we was talking about the mental game and stuff like that. And we had groups and girls of 12, groups of 12, and we was talking about how many of you start for your summer team. Well, every one of them raised their hand. We're not that group of 12, probably three realistically is going to have the opportunity to start as a freshman when they get to that level.
Yeah.
Uh, so again, it's how they just handle things, uh, adversity and moving through it. But you know, that's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, talk about how critical it is to keep the foot on the gas that last summer season before you get to college, and not lay off of it, because when you get there, you're expected to perform. Hey, we're starting fall ball as soon as you get here.
Yeah, I mean, we send out workout sheets for our kids coming in that next summer after our season's over, and you can tell the ones who's been doing something, the ones who hadn't.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you really have that desire to start as a freshman, then you're going to be doing extra workouts. You're going to be doing extra lessons or pitching lessons or you're pitching instructor or whatever you're doing in order to have that opportunity. We tell our kids, you have we're giving you the opportunity. What you make of it is your decision. You know, Unfortunately, our kids, we got great kids. We're a lot like family here, and they understand, hey, this is a job for you. Just like we have a job, and if we have to answer to our AD for it, you're gonna have to answer to us.
Yeah.
So it's a job, and but we try to keep it fun at the same time. So we do want our recruits, and our recruits ask us, hey, what do you want us doing this summer? Well, we want you playing at the highest level possible. Now, if you're going to showcases and stuff like that, I had one of our recruits, is it mandatory that I do that? I'm like, well, it costs a lot of money to go to Colorado, to California, to play in these showcases and go around the country. If you're already committed, I would tell parents, hey, if you got 12 kids on your team and you got three of them committed, let those other kids have a chance. There's no reason in sending those kids out there taking, extra reps and taking reps away from kids who's not committed yet.
Right. That's a good point. I have both sides of it where they'll athletes will commit, and it's just like, okay, now I've made it. I can kind of
Yep.
do my own individual thing. And then I have, it's like they have that mentality. Okay, I've made it. I've got my foot in the door. Now I've got to push that door wide open. How big is a roster for you where you're comfortable with at the collegiate level, that you feel like just not putting names on faces, but where you feel like you're comfortable, you have enough to kind of cover you for, a duration of the season?
Yeah. I think on our roster this year we have 25. We have five pitchers. Uh, I mean, a good number would probably be around 22, 21 to 22.
Mhm.
Uh, that's where I would feel comfortable. I mean, and probably four or five pitchers. I mean, you're going against great hitters at every level. Like you said, I don't care if it's Division 1, 2, 3, NIA, whatever you're playing. You're going against great hitters, and you've got to keep them off balance. And
Right.
usually after that two times through the lineup, you've got to make a change, regardless of who's pitching.
Yeah.
Uh, and then you always have injuries. So you got to develop the kids that's coming in, the freshman who's coming in behind a junior. Obviously, you got to get her up to speed and keep her ready in case something happens. So I mean, you're always looking at those numbers. And, I could sit here and talk about softball all day long. But I mean, that's another reason, kids in high school, you hear a lot of parents complain about the number of kids on their summer team.
Yeah.
Or, and that's the nature of the beast. That's what I told when I coached summer ball. If you learn how to handle that now, you're not going to be disappointed when you get to college
Yeah.
because you're already going to be around that, you know? And, they said, well, I want my kid to be on the field. Well, I get that. I get that. But make them earn it at the same time. Make them learn how to compete for their position every day. And then when they get to college, that's just going to, like you said earlier, it's just going to push them through the door and kick that door wide open and give them a bigger opportunity.
Yeah. It's already hard enough being away from mom and daddy.
Oh, it's
So
hard.
if you could sort of figure out a way to make something a little bit easier, and you may not be paying attention to it, but it's like, whatever I can do before I get there to help out. I mean, you had mentioned, coaching at the summer ball level. When you're going to these different showcases and playing, how hard is that as a coach to make sure you're getting everybody the playing time. And it's on your heart, it's on your mind of making sure you're trying to do the best for everybody. And sometimes it's just impossible for these travel ball coaches to get as much exposure for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I think in my perception, exposure tournaments has kind of got, I'm gonna say, out of hand a little bit,
Mhm.
just for the simple fact that they've made, uh, you go into Friday, Saturday, you'll get 5 games, and then Sunday it goes to single elimination, like a bracket play kind of setup.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, I think every coach who coaches has a desire to win, and you find yourself trying to win more than get kids reps. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Uh, and so I think if we would get back to that, just to showcase atmosphere, and you play your 5 games and go home, I think kids would find out and coaches would find out they were doing a better job of rotating kids in the lineup and
Yeah.
giving kids equal opportunities.
Yeah, that opinion that you have sort of seems to be the one that continues to rise to the top when I ask that question, because I'm more of a guy that's let's play like a round robin. Everybody
Yep.
plays everybody, so we
Yep.
can see, hey, there's a D1 committed pitcher over here.
Yes.
She wants to face some of the better hitters on different teams, and the hitters also want to face that better pitcher. You get into a situation where these coaches want to see this matchup and it just
Yep.
doesn't happen. And it's
Yep.
like, okay, well, what are we here for? We're still here to win a tournament. And it's just like,
Right.
all right, well, there's plenty of tournaments to go win. This
Yes.
is something that's completely different. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that as a coach from that perspective, trying to help kids pick the right camps. The kid has been identified and they're working their process and stuff. And you as a coach, making sure that athlete is getting to that place where they're actually going to be a good fit because the relationship that you have with that college coach and vice versa.
I think, like I said, we had a camp this past weekend, and I've kind of had the same motto my whole life with kids going to school and things of that nature. But I tell kids to have 5 dream schools, 5 realistic schools.
Mhm.
That's where we start. I mean, you can spend a ton of money hitting every camp out there. I would tell parents, athletes to do their homework, figure out schools around them, figure out, and like I said, because I mean, you have 5 dream schools. Those dreams are huge. Okay. But I mean, if you strive and work hard, you may achieve one of those goals. And if you don't and you end up at a mid major, at least you're there. This is one of the schools this is where you want to be. But that's what I tell all athletes. I mean, you got to be comfortable in the setting you're in. Uh, Coaches may leave, things may happen. You got to be happy at the university you're at, and just make sure it's the right fit.
Yeah. And see, that's another thing too that a lot of athletes are not paying a whole lot of attention to is when it comes time to recruiting and y'all trying to pick who's going to make it on your roster and who you guys are going to go after and who you've identified, they've got to fit that roster personality wise too. Not just, hey, you're a heck of an athlete, but
Yeah.
and you have the personality of a door.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a high energy guy. I have a ton of energy. And I mean, I tell our athletes, what do you look for? Well, I look for energy. I look for my shortstop out there just kicking dirt around, settling in, talking to her pitcher, looking at my third baseman, just constant communication.
Yeah.
That's what I look for when I'm recruiting, you know. But then you get the kid who's just kind of has that blank space look, and and she don't fit in there. She just don't. But that's the reason it's important to narrow down that list and look at the schools you're interested in, because then you get a better feel for what the team is. If you came to one of my camps, and you went to 5 Alabama camps, then you're going to get a totally different feel for how Alabama is compared to Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Uh, but I mean, I think like everybody has a place, you know, and Chattanooga's. I can brag on Chattanooga a little bit. I can brag on our coaching staff a little bit, because you can look in. I mean, we haven't had a kid go in the transfer portal since it's been a thing, and that's saying something. I mean, we're a real tight family, and the kids believe in what we're doing. Now, we're not going to go out there and win every game. That's not going to happen, but we compete, and our kids know we love them. And I think every parent needs to know their kids are in a safe place and their kids are happy. Obviously, as you grow up and get older and you get out in the real world and you have real jobs, if you're not happy, you're not going to perform.
Yeah.
And it's the same way with these athletes. If they're not in a good situation, they're going to be miserable the whole time they're there. So just take the time and make sure they're in the right spot.
Yeah. That's what I try to tell parents and coaches and the players too is like, don't just go to the camp to go to the camp. I mean, that's an expensive practice. You know what I mean? Make it a
Right.
recruitable option for you. And if it's not, then so be it. Like there's plenty of schools out there, but if you're going to go and take it all in, visit the campus, look around the town.
Yep.
You know, if you're coming from Alaska, where you're used to it being cold, and you get into Tennessee, it's going to be muggy. You know, and
Yeah, it is going to be muggy for sure.
I had a chance this past year. We went out there for the Open Nationals with the Alliance
Yeah.
and got to be around campus stuff like that. I'm telling you right now, that is a cool stadium. I was able to sit up in the top close to the press box, and we were able to watch the home run derby.
Yeah.
I forget who was out there, what two teams were playing, but
Had a
man,
couple of pro teams out there, I think.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And hitting that scoreboard, hitting that building that was out there, that is a cool place to play. Like I
Yeah.
was talking to my team and my daughter and stuff. That's what, like, you've got to take in the whole atmosphere. Can you see yourself coming out of that dugout running onto the field?
Yeah. That's exactly right. It's a vision. I mean, you got to be able to see yourself there, and like we're fortunate again. I mean, we got a great stadium, a great setup, and I think, we had Auburn in there a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
and I think we had 2,200 people in there, and it was a great feeling to be able to give that feeling to our kids, because you don't get that feeling everywhere. You can get that feeling at the Women's College World Series and, stuff like that. But for us to have that opportunity at home, that was an amazing feeling. It was an amazing feeling. So,
Those girls, that they are lucky to have the opportunity to where everything worked out and the hard work they put in to be able to go play at that collegiate level. But it seems like you guys are setting them up for success once they graduate and once they take off. What does it mean to you when you see one of your athletes grow up and finish their college career and move on to either professional or something else in life?
I mean, I think that's what we're there for. I think at the end of the day, I mean, softball is a game, and in 4 years, most of you are going to get away from that. I could tell you a story about a kid now. I mean, it's just, come in. She was a transfer kid as a sophomore. She struggled with her grades, and she came in and struggled her sophomore year. Kid, now she's a senior, made the dean's list. She's just blew it out of the water. But I think that gives us a sense of pride that we're doing the right thing academically. First of all, academics is huge in college, and we have a great support staff who make sure our athletes are doing what they need to do in the classroom before they get on the field. Uh, but just seeing them achieve that, and I don't think that hits them until they play that last game, because in softball we're so focused on the outcome, and we're preparing, we'll go to ULL, then we come back and we got two tournaments at home. And then, before you know it, you're into conference play, and all of a sudden you're a conference tournament. And if you get beat out, all of a sudden it hits the athlete like, wow, my career's over.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done. And it's an emotional state for them, but they don't realize it because it happens so fast. And then, but you get to step back, talk to the athlete on a bigger scale, and talk about, how well they've done, and, we prepared them for life, and they've done a great job. And that gives us a great sense of being successful with these kids.
Yeah. And you mentioned that it happens so quick. Man, there are so many games that are played now on the travel ball schedule. I think that's another reason why it seems like the college softball season is so quick, because it seems like they'll play 80 games
Yeah.
in like a short span compared to like the 60 games that at the
Yeah.
collegiate. And that kind of leads me to my point of, man, do you think we're playing too much ball?
I think, I think it's I don't know. I mean, your games are pretty much timed unless you're playing showcases, you're playing 7 innings or whatever.
Mhm.
Uh, it could happen. I think, obviously where we live, I don't know how high school ball is there, but like our kids who in Georgia, they'll come out of summer ball and they go straight into high school ball. I think with those two sports combined, now that's a lot.
That's a
I
lot
mean,
of ball.
you coming out of June and July and you're playing till October, just because of the way the season's set up. And, and at least in Tennessee, they get a break. They get a break before they go back. And I think in the case of, Georgia playing high school ball in the fall, I think those kids play a lot, and they're putting a lot of pressure on those arms. And, you know, uh, sometimes in high school, you're not as fortunate to have a good as team as you do in the summer ball,
Mhm.
and I guess, asking those kids who are your better athletes to carry a team. And it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot, in my opinion.
It's here in South Carolina. They do the spring ball, so they are
Yeah.
probably everybody's starting up winter workouts right now for high school. And I think their tryouts the first week of February, and then they go full bore into May. The ones that'll make it to the playoffs and that kind of stuff. And I was just putting my schedule together, I'll be lucky if I get a practice or two in with the team
Yeah.
before we are headed to Rock Hill
Yeah.
for one of the Carolina Cardinals events that they have on June 1st and 2nd. So it carries on through. I've talked to some of the bigger organizations, the directors, and they talk about that 6-week window of
Yeah.
recruiting in the summer.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure. I mean, I've heard experiences of the kids are home maybe once or twice, it seems, throughout the summer because they're playing this week and then they're having to get to that next destination and they're going all over. For example, last year I ran into some teams that we played a tournament here at Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
The following weekend we were down in Atlanta. The following weekend we were in Chattanooga, and then that next weekend those 14 were up in Indiana. So there it was like 4 weeks. It was like bang, 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 and it was week after week after week. Not talking about the Colorado Sparkler, not talking about the PGF
Yeah.
out there in
Not
California.
throwing all the other stuff in. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're talking 6, 7 weeks, and the kids barely home having a summer. To me, man, I got burnt out playing baseball, and I only played 2
Oh
summers.
yeah.
So I think that burnout is a real factor. Talk about that 6-week recruiting window and now how it's not just busy for the athletes, but it's busy for you as coaches, making sure you're getting to where you need to get to see the
Yeah.
athletes that
I
are.
mean, I think for us, it's identifying the athletes that want to be at Chattanooga. I want athletes who want to be here
Yeah.
uh, because, like I said, if you want to be here, you're going to be happy, and then we can move forward from there. But again, we had a campus past weekend, 150 kids, and you've got to identify the kids who kind of match up with what you're looking for and comparing schedules of where you need to be. I mean, every kid you're looking at is not at the same tournament. So we've got to make it as a coaching staff where, okay, you're going here this weekend. You may be in Florida, you may be in South Carolina, or I may be in Chattanooga. So it's always a moving thing with us, and it's just as stressful on us as it is you guys.
Yeah.
Uh, but they talked about that 6 week window in the summer, and it's almost like that same thing I talked about. It's just there, it's on you. You're busting your tail. You're going to work, and the next thing you know, it's over.
Mhm.
You've got to come up with a decision on how you put it together.
Yeah.
Uh, but I do think, and I've heard rumors about them cutting out the fall as far as showcases and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I think that's huge. I think that gives us more time with our athletes,
Yeah.
and it gives us more time to host camps and give kids, that look at our university
Mhm.
instead of just having to, okay, pick where I'm going from. Okay, well, I can't go to camp this weekend. I can't do this. I can't do this because I've got Scenic City. I've got Tiger Creek. I've got at Legacy. I've got every showcase in the tournament in the fall, and they don't have the option to go to camps
Yeah.
and really get that feeling.
Yeah. That's the pressure that gets put on a kid of they've either would like to go or they've somewhat been invited to, or they've been, hey, you should probably go to this camp, whatever. But now they got this coach that says, no, we're playing in this
Yeah,
tournament.
yeah,
We've got to win this. It puts a lot of pressure so the parents trying to figure out what's best for them. It causes a lot. And I think what gets lost in all this is these parents and these players and these coaches forget to realize that you guys also play the game. You guys already have a 2024 team. Like, this is my squad. I've got to be with them. I'm not in recruiting mode 24/7.
yeah, yeah. And that's tough. I mean, and again, but if you're doing the right thing for the kid at the end of the day, and that kid has a desire to go to Chattanooga, and Chattanooga's having a camp, and you've got numbers on your summer team, let the kid go.
Yeah.
Let the kid go. I mean, and as a parent of a softball player, as a coach, I think sometimes we forget that it's about the kid, and we focus all on winning.
Yeah.
And and that's the nature of the beast. I've done the same thing. I'm not sitting here saying I'm guilty. I raise my hand. I'm guilty. And but at the same time, we just got to look for it and open our eyes to the bigger picture, because going to win a tournament in Alabama is not as big as that kid's future academically, or her dream of playing at the collegiate level.
Yeah. What means the most to you when it comes to coaching softball? What keeps you doing it, man? Because you've been at it for quite a few years at multiple levels, and
Yeah.
you've been successful at every level. So,
Yeah.
what
I think I
keeps it?
love the I think I just love the grind. I love the recruiting aspect of it, and I love seeing kids achieve their goals and dreams. And we brought a kid in, again, not mentioning names. We brought this kid in as a walk-on her freshman year, and that kid became our starting shortstop, went on to be SoCon player of the year twice, And, it's just seeing kids who get that opportunity
Yeah.
to achieve their dreams and be happy about it. That's the thing for me. I mean, again, like I said, I've grown up a lot in my years, and it's just a long time ago it was all about the wins, but now it's just seeing kids be happy and successful in what they're doing in the classroom, and trying to strive to win championships on the field.
Yeah. This year, coach, taking wins and losses and pushing them aside, what's it going to mean to you, or what does it mean to you to have a successful year? What's a successful year in your mind if we take wins out of it?
Ooh, successful year for me, if I took wins and everything and set it to the side, would be just to watch kids grow.
Mhm.
I think uh, freshmen coming in this year, obviously they're kind of starstruck. They got that deer in the headlights look, and watching those kids grow when their seniors lead those kids and develop them into players and better people, and letting them realize what our culture at our program is about, and then turn around and watch those kids as sophomores and grow through that process. And when they become, juniors and seniors, they're leaders. They're doing the same thing to that freshman bunch they once was.
Right.
For me, it's just, growing as a team, keeping that family feeling together for us. And, all that stuff sees you through the wins and losses.
Yeah. That's big. I think that'd be successful for me too, man. If I could be just a fly on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I used to have, when I was coaching high school, I used to have college softball up on a pedestal,
Mhm.
and I'd get on my high school athletes. You can't play that way in college. You can't do that. You can't do that. But when I got to college, I realized these college kids make the same mistakes that the 9 and 10-year-old girls do. And I'm like, okay, I can relax a little bit now. They do. They make the same mistakes as everybody else.
Have you ever seen a mistake-free game at the college level?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think so. Now that you've asked me that, I don't think, whether it's just not execution, not getting a bunt down, or from all the way around. I don't think I've ever seen that. Now that you say that,
I mean, there's so much pressure on these athletes, and getting a chance to sit and talk with you, and sort of lightens that load up, or at least gives them that thought. You know what? I don't have to take it so daggone serious. Like, it's
yeah,
not every decision that I make isn't a critical one. Now, a bunch of decisions kind of put together, that becomes that criticalness. But at the end of the day, man, if we didn't have softball, what would you be doing right now?
ooh, that's a good question too. I'd probably be in the corporate world trying to make a living every day. Uh, but again, God's gave me the ability to do what I love, and
Yeah.
it's a blessing for me. But you going back to talking athletes and pressure, I just tell kids all the time, I've got three things. Let's stay disciplined, let's stay relaxed, and confident. If you take those three things with you, you're going to be fine no matter what you do. Because if you believe in yourself and you're confident in your abilities, you're going to be relaxed. You're going to be able to handle that 3-2 count with a winner runner on second and third. And, I don't have to say anything. Our kids know when they mess up, and I used to be a pretty loud guy. I can still get loud at times, but, I sit there and, I tell our kids, like, there's no sense in it. You can see the look on their face when they know they're not doing the right thing. I don't have to holler at a kid. She can look at me and, point to her chest and say, hey, that's on me. I know what I did wrong. And, that's another way we just move forward and stuff.
Yeah. Well, before we get out of here, coach, I want to ask you, what is a piece of advice that you could give a parent or a player or a coach, pick one of the three, that you have learned and over the course of your career coaching? What's some advice that you could give to help somebody in their recruiting journey?
I think, like I said, mentioned earlier, I think just narrow that list down as parents. I think parents are still, when the recruiting thing changed, when we was recruiting seventh and eighth graders,
Mhm.
I still think parents still feel that pressure, even though NCAA's kind of took that pressure away, to put their kid in every showcase tournament, to be at every high caliber tournament,
Mhm.
when us college coaches can't even talk to them until September the 1st. I think take that time that you're stressed and worried about now, and focus on the schools that you have dreams or aspirations of achieving, and attend more of their camps. Get to know the coaching staff, get to know the university, not just from an athletic standpoint, but from an academic standpoint. Uh, Again, I say it's just making your list and narrowing it down, and be realistic about it. I
Yeah.
mean, if you got 10 Power 5 schools on there, that may not happen, but let's really, sit down and talk about it as a family and figure out what's the best fit for you.
That's some good advice, Coach. I wish people would heed that. And you know what? Hey, some just go to a game. You
Yeah.
don't even
Yeah.
go. You don't even have to go to a camp. You go to
No,
a game
just come pick
first
it.
and go. Hey, I can play here now. Let me go to a camp. You know?
Well, that's what we say. People say, well, where do you recruit at? Well, we go out in these showcases, we watch them. We watch them in games. Come watch us in games.
Yeah.
You'll see our actions. You'll see what kind of coaches we are. And it's the same thing. You can recruit us as much as we recruit you.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It works both ways.
I tell the athletes when they go, it's like an unofficial visit. You're going there, you're trying them out too. It
Yeah.
may be the best fit. You may have the greatest experience on the field, learning everything, but when you get there, you just sit, hey, I don't have the feeling that I will be comfortable here for
Yeah.
whatever reason. I don't like the
Yeah.
campus. I don't,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
That's why it's so big in recruiting, man. And I wish the transfer portal would sort of settle down, but I think it's almost like,
That's a different conversation for a different day right there.
no, it's like, well, let me go here first, and if I don't like it, I can just transfer.
Exactly.
Don't have that in your head. Don't have that in your head, man.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
go
that's
there.
the thing. I think that's the way it's become. I think, okay, well, I'll go here, and if I don't like it, I can just leave. And it's not, it shouldn't be that easy. It
No,
shouldn't be that easy. And like I said, we're fortunate here to where if we've had a kid going to transfer portal, it's been one, and to be honest, we really haven't recruited a kid out of the transfer portal either. So I mean, it's just, we kind of do our own thing here. We're a little different.
yeah.
But it's proven successful, and we'll just keep doing what we've been doing the whole time.
I spoke to Mandy Balda with NSR, and she told me, didn't even remind me, just told me that this is it for the COVID years of
Yeah.
the COVID impact from those players and stuff. So I think we're going to see another shift. Maybe it's in roster sizes. Maybe it's in how we go about recruiting high school students compared to the JUCO students and stuff like that. I think we're still in the next year or so going to see that, but
Yeah.
it definitely had its impact, and
Oh
it's,
yeah.
I mean,
It definitely did.
how did you guys tackle that with
Oof.
on a case by case sort of thing? I mean, was it case by case, or was it just like, okay, what are we doing here with our numbers because now we have a bigger roster that we didn't think was going to be here?
Yeah. I mean, I think, you had to look at every aspect of it. We had a big senior class that year
Mm,
when COVID hit, and we kind of got shut down when we was in Florida. And, at that point, those kids had to make another decision. They were still going to graduate because academics carried on,
right, right.
but the NCAA granted them another year of eligibility. Well, at that point, they had to decide, okay, do I want to, go on with my life and, do things that I've already prepared to do? Some of them already had jobs. Some of them already had jobs out there waiting on them as soon as they graduated. I mean, a lot of them chose not to come back that year. Think we had one or two that happened, but like you said, I think it was on a person to person basis. And, we, as a, as a country and as a university and everything, we've got through it. It was tough. It was a tough time for everybody.
Yeah, and what's crazy is, man, the individual impact is real. When you hear these stories that athletes were going through, like every case is different. Like,
Yeah.
what do they do? And you
Yeah.
as a coach are sitting there like, well, can't make the decision for you, but it's just like, let's talk through it together. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm sure that was tough, man. I mean, we could
Yeah.
get,
I mean, and it affects scholarships too.
yeah,
It's like, hey, you got that extra year, but we don't have that extra money.
yep,
So we got to figure, just because the NCAA granted you that extra year, don't mean we can afford it.
yeah,
So, I mean, softball's not a fully funded program. I mean, it's not everybody gets a full ride or whatever. We have to, everybody gets partial scholarships. We break scholarships up or whatever. But at the same time, I think, like you said, it's individual basis. So,
yeah, man, it's so involved. It's not as cut and dry as some people think when it comes to this stuff, man. And it depends on really you could get all the way down to that how you wake up in the morning, how you feel. You know what I mean? That butterfly effect. It's just like how a kid performs it when they go to a camp or an event or something like that. It could be dependent upon if they made a good grade or a bad grade the night before or the day before the test. So it's not an exact science. Recruiting isn't an exact science. There's a formula to kind of putting your
there
best
is.
on and stuff,
There
but
is. I mean, that's what I told you. Like, I look for high energy kids.
yeah,
Just for the simple fact is everybody has a bad day. And if I've got 22 kids and they're all high energy, I may have 10 of them that's off,
yeah,
but those other 12 kids are going to pick us up and carry us through. So that's the reason I like high energy people. So, and if we're all down, there's something bad going on. Something bad going on.
A high energy mask a lot of things. You might be feeling bad, but you give me that energy, we're good to go.
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
Well, Coach, man, I appreciate you joining me today. I know you're busy. I'm going to do my best to get out there and get to a game. I'm actually, matter of fact, I'm coming out there. I don't remember my exact schedule. I'm actually coming out June 14th through the 16th.
Let me know when you're out here. We'll go to lunch.
We'll figure out something out. I'll get up with you. I do appreciate it, man. Take care of yourself and good luck this season.
Hey, I enjoy being here. If you ever want me back on, you just let me know.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach.